Welcome to the Pathology and Radiology Test Requesting System, commonly known as ICE. ICE is the shortened term for an integrated clinical environment. ICE is what we call a cloud-based system and is currently used by clinicians and other healthcare professionals to electronically request a multitude of pathology-related tests and investigations. Let's look at some of the benefits of using ICE. ICE is purely web-based and built on stable system-to-system technology. ICE is designed to optimize the task of ordering pathology tests, yet is quick and simple to use. ICE allows for accurate ordering and does away with most of that paper, thereby reducing the risk of mistakes and the possible duplication of requests. So how do we access ICE? The method of accessing ICE is very straightforward. The ICE Pathology Test Requesting System is conveniently placed and easily accessible from the System 1 desktop, which should already exist on your machine. Let's take a step-by-step journey and learn how to request a variety of pathology tests on ICE. It is assumed that the System 1 desktop is already open on your screen. Firstly, navigate to the folder tree, which runs down the left-hand side of the System 1 desktop, and locate the Pathology and Radiology folder. Now, perform a right-click on this folder. A short options box will appear. Now, select the New Electronic Radiology and Pathology Request option. The ICE Common Requests screen is displayed. This is the default page that will always appear when you access ICE. The screen is broken up into various sectors. At the top of the page, you will find the Patient Details section, which lists the personal details of the patient. The central section of the page is where all of the most common or default tests are listed. These are grouped into various clinical disciplines. Each discipline is color-coded and displays a pre-selected group of tests. At the foot of the page is a chronological list of the most previous 5 tests that have been ordered for this patient. The tree on the left-hand side of the screen consists of a number of pages. Each page is dedicated to a specific clinical discipline. These disciplines may include, amongst others, endocrinology, microbiology, serology, and immunology. Selecting each individual page will display a number of predefined tests associated with the chosen discipline. Selecting the Profiles page will display a number of individually tabulated order sets. Simply put, an order set is a list of commonly grouped tests associated with a specific condition and may have been drawn from a variety of different clinical disciplines. The advantage of using order sets is that these tests are user-defined and can be selected or deselected as required. However, unlike other areas of the ICE system, the selected tests, the ticks in the boxes, will remain in place until manually removed by the user. This process is ideal if the same tests are repeatedly being ordered for the patient, but it is a functionality of ICE that needs to be managed very carefully, because not unticking any unnecessary tests could easily lead to an incorrect test being ordered for the patient without the clinician's full knowledge. We have selected the Diabetic Review order set. The associated tests are pre-selected and, in this case, are drawn from 2 separate disciplines. Not all of these tests may be required, hence the Select All and Deselect All buttons. Individual tests can, however, be selected as required. Selecting the Conditions and Diseases page will display a free text search box. As the first letters of a condition or disease is entered into the box, a list of results is returned from your search. In this example, we have selected the diabetes condition. A box will appear offering further information, diagnostics and treatments associated with the chosen condition. Any pre-selected tests associated with the condition will be listed below the information field with the option to select or deselect a test. The next page down is the General Search page. Selecting this page will allow the user to perform a general search for a term, phrase or condition. Using this search engine will allow the user to perform a mass search using any selection of criteria or parameters. Please bear in mind, however, that less is more, meaning that the smaller the search parameters that are used, the larger the list of results you will receive. When using this search functionality, it may take a little longer than usual to bring back your results, as the entire system is searched for the required letters or phrase. We entered the letters DIA, and many hundreds of results have been returned. Now, let's go ahead and request some tests on ICE. On the Common Request screen, place a tick in the checkboxes of the required tests. The required tests may be selected from any of the available disciplines and equally from within any of the other pages, which are located on the left-hand side of the screen. The ICE system has a variety of rules built in, which may take the shape of pop-up questions, warnings, or alerts. These rules are specific to the test that has been selected and will necessitate some form of an answer or the entry of some description of clinical information. Once this information has been entered, the user will be allowed to progress with the ordering process. In addition to the test checkboxes, an open book icon or link may be displayed on the right-hand side of the test description. When clicking on this icon, an external web page opens up which displays further details and information on the selected test. When all of the required tests have been selected, navigate to the green Continue with Request button at the bottom left of the page. Click on this button. The General Details page and the Order Details page are both now displayed. This page is split up into two separate panes. Both pages are a combination of pre-populated information, free text entry fields and drop-down selection boxes. On the first line is the user number. This is the unique number, or ID, that is associated with whichever smart card is currently inserted and logged onto the system. Below this is the bleep or contact number field. This is an optional free text field which only becomes a mandatory field if the priority box on the opposite side of the page is changed from normal to urgent. Next is the Requesting Consultant or GP drop-down selection box. If the current user is acting under proxy or permission from a different clinician, the correct clinician's name can be selected here. Below this is the Global Clinical Details text entry box. This field is surrounded by a solid grey border, which means that it is a mandatory text entry field. It is compulsory that text is entered into this field, as the system will not allow you to progress any further if nothing is entered. The category will always default to NHS. Further categories, such as private patient, can be selected by clicking on the arrow. Beneath the category field, you will see a list of the tests that have been currently requested. The tests have also been priced and automatically calculated. Moving on to the Order Details section on the right-hand side of the screen, the Copy Results To drop-down box will instruct the system to copy the results off to a nominated clinician if so desired. The Copy Results To location drop-down box will instruct the system to copy the results off to a nominated location if so desired. The Priority drop-down box will allow the user to amend the actual priority of the request to urgent if necessary. If the priority is amended to urgent, then the bleep or contact number box changes to a mandatory text entry field, and a grey border will now surround the box. We now have three separate sample collection options to choose from. Each option has an associated radio button, which means that only a single option may be selected. Selection of the Collect Now option indicates that the request details form would be printed off immediately. The form is automatically date-stamped with today's date and the actual current time. This is the preferred option if the sample is being taken in-house and not outsourced to a different clinical practice or location. Selection of the Collect on a Specified Date or Time option indicates that although the request details form would be printed off immediately, the form is not automatically date-stamped with today's date and the actual current time. Instead, a calendar functionality will appear in order to allow the user to assign a specified date in the future for the sample to be taken. This is the preferred option if the sample is not being taken immediately or in-house and has possibly been outsourced to a different clinical practice or location. Selection of the Collect Later option follows a very similar process to the most previous option and is the most popular option with phlebotomists. At the bottom right of the page, there are three buttons which allow us three separate options. The More Tests option will allow the clinician to order more tests for the patient. The Accept Request option will move the request onto the next stage of the requesting process. The Review option allows the user to preview the order form prior to accepting the request. Select the Review option. Now, select the Print Preview button at the top right of the page. The user is now presented with an electronic preview of the final copy of the order details form. The form displays the details of the peel-off labels, the patient demographics, and the details of the requests. It also lists which sample cylinders are to be used and which coloured lids should be used on each sample cylinder. This is an ideal opportunity to check the details on the form and to be able to make any changes prior to proceeding with the request. At this stage, the user is still able to add more tests by clicking on the appropriate button at the bottom right of the page. To proceed with the request, please click the Accept Request button. At this stage, the system will generate a series of prompts or alerts if the user has left out any integral information. These alerts will take the form of pop-ups or dialog boxes. Select OK to any prompts that may appear. A message will now display informing the user that the request is being processed. The order form will now be automatically sent to the printer. If there is more than one form to print, then a printer preference box will appear for each subsequent form, allowing the user to set individual printer preferences and options. Now, click on the Proceed button. If, for any reason, a reprint is required, click on the green Reprint button. A message box will be displayed, informing the user that electronic pathology request has been successful. Click on OK to close the ICE application and return to the System 1 desktop. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this e-learning package.